Well, good morning. It's about 8:15 on Monday morning, and I thought I'd like to offer just a few thoughts before I walk into the building on this Monday morning. I've been thinking a lot lately about reactions, how we react to things. Scripture is very clear on how we should react to things that are unjust. It tells us to love our enemies, to bless those who curse us, to pray for those who persecute us. And we've seen lately a lot of reaction to these kind of things, to enemies and to those who've been persecuted. And I'm referring really particularly here to the Black Lives Matter movement, all the things we've seen on our television when it comes to the demonstrations at the death of George Floyd and others. And it's been very interesting watching, because you have the complete spectrum, it seems. You've got perfectly peaceful demonstrations, very appropriately done. And then you have, at the other extreme, you've got people who are looting, those who are destroying property. What causes one person to react one way and another person to react another way? And I can only think it comes from here, somewhere from within. That what is in your heart is what manifests itself at these kinds of times. My favorite image, I think, from all of these protests, and I believe, I should have looked this up before I talk, but I believe it was in Kentucky. And what happened in Kentucky, there was a police officer that got detached from his unit. And so he was separate from everybody and in the midst of all of these crowds of people. And so I guess seeing this, a number of people turned to this man and sort of started pointing the finger at him and yelling at him. And the situation was become very volatile as this large crowd was gathering around him, and he was backing up and backing up and backing up. And if my memory serves me correct, he was in some kind of shopping center, maybe even a shopping mall. And he suddenly can't back up anymore. And this man is scared. He doesn't know what these people are going to do to him, because they are angry at the police and they're angry at him, and they have him. And as they're pointing their fingers and they're yelling all kinds of things at him and threatening him, an African-American gentleman comes out the crowd, stands right in front of the man, turns around and folds his arms as though to protect the police officer. And then another one comes out, and another man comes out, and suddenly there are about 5 or 6 men standing protecting this police officer. What caused them to react that way? After this man was perceived to be something of the enemy. I don't know enough about these men, but something within them spoke and allowed them to react in that very, very wonderful way, really. Friends, let's be careful how we react to people. It's becoming an increasingly difficult world to disagree, and people react very angrily at really what is very small things. So let's make sure that we're appropriate in the way that we react to people. Remember, we've been called to love our enemies. Love is something that comes from God. God is love. That's a reaction that shows that Jesus lives in our heart. Love our enemies. Bless those who curse you. People are going to speak ill of you, but don't speak ill of them. Speak well of them. And then it says, of course, pray for those who persecute you. As Christians, if we're doing our job right, we should feel somewhat persecuted. Maybe I'm one of those that says I'm not persecuted enough. But we should pray for those who persecute us. Because what praying does is praying is a way of bringing things together. Praying brings us together with God. That was the gift of the birth of Christ. That was the gift of the death of Christ. It was the gift of the resurrection of Christ. The reconciliation that we have. Prayer does that. It brings us and God together. And equally, prayer will bring us together with those who persecute us. So there's my few thoughts for this morning. That we must be very diligent and be very careful in the way that we react, because it's a reflection of who we are. And if we are Christians, and if we love Jesus, then surely the way that we react should be a reflection of that. God bless you, friends, and I look forward to working with you today.